Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating. We're going to look at this idea of visualizing our feelings, not just as, random, fleeting moods, but as an actual physical landscape, like a massive emotional staircase.
So tell me, do you ever have those mornings where literally the second you open your eyes, your heart just feels incredibly heavy? And there's no obvious reason for it. Nothing went wrong the night before, but you still feel this massive, unexplained weight just pulling you down and draining your energy before your feet even hit the floor.
Well, if you've ever felt that, I want to tell you right off the bat, you are definitely not alone. It is a completely natural thing. And honestly, more importantly, it's not a flaw. You're not broken. It just means that in this very specific moment, you happen to be standing on a certain step of a much larger emotional map.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the mysterious heaviness of heart. Then, the map called the emotional staircase. Number 3, the wall of 200 and courage. 4, how to create space in the heart. And finally, a mirror, not a scorecard.
Section 1. The mysterious heaviness of heart. Identifying the unseen weight. To really wrap our heads around this, we're going to look at an incredibly cool framework called the map of consciousness. It was popularized by the American psychiatrist Dr. David R. Hawkins. He basically proposed that our emotions have an unseen height or weight to them. So they operate on this scale, ranging from super heavy emotions all the way down at the bottom, like shame, all the way up to incredibly light, expansive emotions at the top, like love and peace. This framework, it's honestly a brilliant tool for just observing our daily ups and downs.
Section 2. The map called the emotional staircase, exploring the basement.
So, let's look at the very bottom of this map. Down in the basement, we have shame. Down here, you just feel worthless, and your energy turns entirely inward. You literally just want to hide from the world. Right above that is guilt, where you're kind of trapped in this endless loop of beating yourself up over the past. Because your energy is pointing inward, you have pretty much zero power left to interact with the outside world. Then, as we move up a bit, we hit fear and anxiety. And just above that, anger and pride. Now, this is crucial. We usually think of anger as a strong emotion, right? Because it's loud. But on this map, anger and pride are actually lower-level states. They act as these aggressive, defensive shields that are really just masking deep, underlying fear and vulnerability.
Moving on to Section 3, the wall of 200 and courage, the threshold of agency. Now here is where things get really fascinating. Look at this specific number right here, 200. In Hawkins' map, 200 is treated as this massive, monumental boundary line. Everything below 200, the shame, the guilt, the fear, the anger we just talked about, that just drains your life force. Down there, you are simply reacting to survive. But the absolute second you cross that threshold of 200, the entire dynamic flips. Your mind and your heart actually begin to support you.
And guess what emotion lives right exactly at that 200 mark? It's courage. Now, we usually think of courage as something, reserved for action heroes, or we think it means having absolutely zero fear. But that is a total misunderstanding. Courage is in the absence of fear. True courage is feeling entirely terrified, but deciding to take one small step anyway, while carrying that fear right along with you. It's like checking job listings when you're terrified of changing careers, or finally sending that difficult text message to a friend you've been putting off. That right there, that action, is the very essence of crossing the 200 line.
And this brilliantly illustrates how it actually plays out in real life. Imagine you make a massive mistake at work. If you are stuck in shame, your first reaction is, I can't go to work anymore. I just want to disappear. If you're in guilt, it's, this is entirely my fault. In fear, you totally panic. Oh no, am I going to be fired? And if you use anger as a shield, you might lash out and say, the system is flawed, it's not my fault. But look at what happens the moment you cross into courage. You say, okay, I made a mistake. Let's apologize and find a fix. Move up a bit more to reason. Let's analyze the data and find the root cause. And way up at the top, at love, let's make sure the team's anxiety is cared for. The event itself didn't change at all, but your emotional vantage point changed absolutely everything about how you handled it.
Section 4. How to create space in the heart, ascending to the upper floors.
As we keep climbing higher up those stairs, we find two incredibly powerful states: reason and love. Now, reason is fantastic, right? It focuses on data, facts, logic. It stops us from getting swept away by raw, impulsive emotion. But if we only ever hang out in reason, we can become a bit cold, and our hearts kind of get left behind in the process. That is exactly why stepping up into love is so absolutely vital. And we aren't just talking about romance here. Love in this sense means warmth, compassion, and honestly, just wishing for the natural growth of others without trying to control them. The best part? These two don't oppose each other at all. You use reason to organize your mind, and you use love to warm it up. They beautifully balance and nourish each other.
Section 5. A mirror, not a scorecard. The descent and empathetic twist.
Now, before we go any further, there is an important caveat we need to mention. Dr. Hawkins actually assigned specific numerical values to these emotions using a muscle testing technique known as applied kinesiology. I want to be perfectly clear and impartial here. Mainstream science and standard psychology really do not recognize or validate this testing method as objective proof. There's no scientific evidence that emotions have a literal, measurable frequency of 200 or 500. But honestly, its true value doesn't rely on strict science anyway. It's much better to think of it as a philosophical tool or a psychological mirror, kind of like Buddhist concepts of letting go of attachments and moving toward a sense of peace.
And because it is a philosophical tool, we have to be pretty careful about how we use it. There is a massive, massive difference between a scorecard and a mirror. Please do not use this map as a scorecard. Don't use it to compete with others, or to judge yourself, or to try and enforce this state of toxic, constant positivity where you feel like you literally must be vibrating at love 24/7. Instead, use it as a mirror. A mirror doesn't judge, it simply reflects reality impartially. Use this map to observe and validate exactly where you're at right now, without any judgment whatsoever.
So, what are you supposed to do on those days when you inevitably slide back down into the basement? Well, first things first, acknowledge your current step without judging yourself. If you're sitting in guilt today, just take a breath and say, okay, I'm in guilt today. If you are so exhausted you literally can't get out of bed, don't beat yourself up over it. Accept it as necessary rest for your body. If you feel like you need to cry, let the tears flow without trying to suppress them. Keep in mind, it is perfectly normal to be up at the level of reason while you're crushing spreadsheets at work and then drop straight down into fear when you're worrying about a family issue at home. These stages fluctuate naturally, just like waves on the ocean.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, leaving us with this really simple yet profound question to think about. Which step of the staircase is your heart on today? Don't try to judge it, just take a look at it. Because the very moment you can observe where you are standing, well, you've already taken that first step toward finding your courage. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this map helps you navigate your own emotional landscape with just a little more grace.